Do we have an actual quarterback battle that we need to talk about heading into fall camp?
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Harings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thank you so much with a capital thank you and 7 exclamation points for tuning in, for being part of this. If you're an everydayer, thank you so much for helping us build this incredible community, which is incredible because of everybody that tunes in, audio, podcasts, wherever it is, wherever you find us. Thank you. Gracias. Appreciate you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more this summer. FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. Something for everybody all summer long. Just head over to FanDuel.com to get started. Okay. Media days, fall camp starts tomorrow. I think there's been a narrative here that Tyler Van Dyke has started to pull away from that job, that Tyler Van Dyke is going to be the starter, to catch everybody up, because I know we're going to get a bunch of new listeners coming in with fall camp. Last year, Braedyn Locke split some time with Mordecai when Mordecai was hurt. Well, didn't split time. Came in when Tanner Mordecai got hurt. Braedyn Locke was the guy. He's second year in the system. They went out and got Tyler Van Dyke, brought him in from Miami, and it was really assumed that he would be the guy, right? It's going to be Tyler Van Dyke's show. Braedyn Locke would have another year kind of waiting it out, repping it out, getting better in the background. Spring camp, they battled, but it felt like towards the end of that, Tyler Van Dyke was pulling away. Phil Longo, offensive coordinator, had some interesting things to say today about Braedyn Locke. Longo said, Braedyn is a savant. He's really, really intelligent. I can't keep him out of the office. He studies everything. He obsesses with it. He is twice the player that he was last year, Longo said. I just said in the staff meeting the other day, he's vastly improved in the things that he needed to do from last year. The staff is still talking about the quarterback battle. Two things. I want to go in. I think multiple things can be true here. I think Braedyn Locke is better than he was last year. I want to go back to the previous quote for a second, but first I want to say I also think this is Tyler Van Dyke's job to lose. I think it's his job to lose. When I talked to Brady Collins, he raised about the physical skill set. Again, I think he was brought here to start. He was brought here to start. He came here to start. He's got a physical skill set that if he hits his ceiling is, quite frankly, it's higher than Braedyn Locke's, in my opinion. He has a bigger arm, bigger body. I think he's a little faster. All those physical traits that put him on NFL draft radars are still there. So in order for it to not go Tyler Van Dyke's way this fall camp, I think two things need to happen. I think Braedyn Locke needs to have an incredible fall camp, and I think Tyler Van Dyke needs to stumble a little bit. And if those things happen, yeah, it's a quarterback battle. But if they both play relatively evenly, or if Tyler Van Dyke continues to progress as he gets more time in the system, I think it's Tyler Van Dyke's job to lose. Now, I am buying that as a competition. I don't think Longo's blowing smoke. I don't think Fickell's blowing smoke when they say this is a battle. And I don't think they're blowing smoke with the praise on Braedyn Locke either. I'm going to get to that in a second. But I think this is Tyler Van Dyke's job to lose. I really do, because his upside's higher. And if he plays well, and you can kind of rein in some of the inconsistencies, his long arm, his cannon, it unlocks part of this offense that I'm not sure Braedyn Locke does. It's no shot at Braedyn. Tyler Van Dyke has a stronger arm than most college quarterbacks. He's got a cannon, he's got a howitzer, he's got whatever you want to call it. Can they rein it in a little bit and make it more consistent? And if they can, it's going to be his job. I really believe that. I'm not saying it's not a battle, but I think it's an uphill battle for Braedyn Locke. And I think Tyler Van Dyke just needs to hold serve. I do want to get to this quote, though, from Longo. Braedyn is a savant. He's really, really intelligent. I can't keep him out of the office. He studies everything. He obsesses with it. There's a couple of keywords there that I want to pull up, because that's what all the great quarterbacks do. Not all the great quarterbacks have a rocket arm. Not all of them have. They got to be obsessed with football, though. Really, they have to love it. And this is the same reason I'm so high on Landon Locke. I think he gets all these same IQ. I love football. I'm obsessed with it traits that Braedyn has, but he has a little bigger frame and a little better arm. And by the way, Landon Locke is the 2025 recruit who will be on campus next year. He's a senior this year in Rockwell High School. I think he might be the quarterback to really watch out of this group going forward. But that being said, like, everything about Braedyn is right here. This is the quote that sums it up. He's a savant. He's really, really intelligent. I can't keep him out of the office. He studies everything. He obsesses with it. Why is he not the starter then? It's because he doesn't have the elite requisite physical tools. Because because this is all true. I've heard multiple people say this. Braedyn is a QB savant. If he had Tyler Van Dyke's arm and size and mobility, he would be the starter. It'd be wrapped up. It'd be done. It'd be under the Christmas tree ready to open up on opening day. The reason he doesn't is he doesn't have Tyler Van Dyke's upside. He doesn't have Tyler Van Dyke's physical skill set, which is why I still think this is Tyler Van Dyke's job to lose. But that's not a knock on Braedyn. I think Braedyn is a great number 2. There's a ton of teams that would, are you kidding me? Would love to have a guy who obsesses over football, studies everything, and has experience as their number 2 quarterback. It's a great place to be, and you're probably going to need him because quarterbacks get hurt. Got hurt last year. So I think the Badgers are in a good spot. It's not a great spot, but I think they're in a good spot in the quarterback room. I think it's Tyler Van Dyke's to lose, and I think Braedyn Locke is a tremendous number 2 for this program going into fall camp. All right, let's talk transfer portal and a couple players that the Badgers brought in this offseason that getting some nice buzz at media day. Let's start with Brandon Lane, because if you listen to this show, if you're an everydayer, honestly, if you listen to this show once a month, I feel like we talk defensive line every other show. Like, we got to get more D linemen. We got to get better there. We got to build depth. They went and got Brandon Lane, right? Was committed to Michigan State at one point, Louisville at one point. So this was a defensive lineman coming in with multiple offers. Coach Tressel, defensive coordinator, talking very highly about Brandon Lane. Someone they said he's big, he's physical. This is the quote from Tressel. He is a big, strong dude. First of all, is that like not the best quote for an interior defensive lineman? He's a big, strong dude. Quite honestly, I think he can have an impact because, well, A, he's a good football player. B, it just gives us the ability to make sure we're bringing in new, fresh faces. So the ones doing the pounding can play in and out. So big, strong dude, updated roster. We're going to get into that later. He came in at 312 pounds. I like the film. I like the offer list. This is one of those dudes, one of those players you have to hear good things about. He has to play. He has to play and has to play well because the depth on the defensive line isn't very good. It's not very good and I shouldn't say very good. Like, I don't mean to be so critical of defense line, but it's untested. I think that's a good way to put it, right? It's untested. There's a lot of new players and new pieces they're relying on. It was an area that struggled last year. This is a big piece. If he's able to come in and play right away, Brandon Lane, if he's able to come in and be a solid person in that rotation, that's a huge win. And I think they need it, and I think he will be. The other one is Joseph Griffin Jr. So Joseph Griffin Jr. is the 6'4" receiver they plucked out of Boston College. Former 4-star recruit, right? It was a borderline 4-star, but so there was prep, some real prep pedigree here from a recruiting standpoint. And again, they went out and got him because he doesn't fit what they have on the roster. They don't have a 6'4" guy. They don't have a guy who could potentially be that red zone threat, that 50-50 ball guy, that slot fade into the end zone type of guy. That could be Griffin, right? And there's a guy 2 years ago had 5 touchdowns on 18 catches. They went out and got him, added him into the room to add something different to this receiver room. This is what they said about Joseph Griffin. He is this is Phil Longo speaking, offensive coordinator. He's a long, rangy receiver who we thought ran well, but he's run very well since he's been here. That's an interesting quote, right? Because if he's running really well in that 6'4" frame, well, he's going to play. Like, if he's running really well, faster than they thought, with that ability to go up and high point a ball, with that frame, with that length, with that experience too. He's played 2 years in a real conference. Boston College plays real football. This is not like the MAC. It's not the Sun Belt. It's not the Mountain West. So he's bringing multiple years of experience. 2 years ago, again, had 18 catches and 5 of those were touchdowns. This could be like the secret guy at the end of the year we look back at and say, what a pickup Joseph Griffin would be, or ended up being. And it's not because he's going to have 60 catches, but it's going to be because he has 30 catches, but 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, right? He could be that type of guy. Or it's going to be 26 catches, but 18.7 yards per catch. Griffin could be a problem this year. Griffin could be a really, really good player. And it's very interesting to see Phil Longo kind of already talking about the physical tools and the athletic upside. So there's 2 transfers I'd keep an eye on just based on what we're hearing from media day. Brandon Lane, the defensive lineman. Yes, please, more depth there. And Joseph Griffin, potentially answering that big lingering question we continue to have about the boundary receiver spot. Who's going to be there? Who's going to help augment the slot depth that they have? That could be Joseph Griffin. All right, we're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show, but we're going to come back. We're going to talk about what could be a stacked and dangerous running back room. What did Ches Malusi say about the new guys? How good could that room be? We're going to get into that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show And a quick second to say thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel remains the number one source for all your sports betting needs. Everything you need to do over there for sports betting, they got you. It's fast, it's easy, it's simple. The user interface is incredible. You log in, you don't need to call tech support and figure out what's what there. It's all laid out perfectly, right? Baseball, basketball, every sport you can look at. Major League Baseball going on right now, but futures coming up, college football, the NFL. We talked about the Badgers future. This is a great time to go to FanDuel. All your futures, parlay spreads, teasers, they're all there. Again, as always, please do it responsibly, but a great way to spice up your weekend. FanDuel is incredible. It's easy. It's fast. It's simple to use. It is the most trusted sports book that we have come across, that I've come across. That's why the Locked On Network uses it. And they are also the official sports book of Major League Baseball. So head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And once again, they're the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's who we trust. Go over to FanDuel.com right now. Spice up your summer and get started. All right, let's talk running backs. So one of the big themes in the 2024 class was 3 running backs and 2 guys that were national level recruits, right? You brought in Gideon Tuka, who enrolled early and looked good for a true freshman. Drew some really interesting praise and comments. He was a guy that flashed as a true freshman in spring camp. But then ... fall camp gets here, and now the big dogs have arrived, right? This is like that naval battle, and then the battleships are on the horizon, and now they're coming into focus. And yeah, I just called Darrion Dupree and Dilon Jones battleships, but those dudes could be really good. They could be game wrecker types. There's a reason that they were both Alabama went after them, 4-star level recruits, really good film. They're here, right? Interesting comment. This was off of the camp podcast. They were interviewing Braedyn Locke, who said of Darrion Dupree and Dilon Jones, quote, "They're freaks, man. I believe they can help us this year." Listen, in a lot of places, the word freaks isn't the best compliment for running backs, defensive linemen, offensive tackles, outside linebackers. The best thing you can call them is a freak. I mean, and that's what we saw in film, right? We've been so high on this too. This pairing, we've been so high on them since the moment they committed, because they bring a different type of athletic pedigree to the Badgers. Darrion Dupree is you can't tackle him in space guy, catch the ball really well, elite contact balance. Like he gets hit and bounced around like a ping pong ball and just somehow escapes out of it. Compact too. He's not a twig. He's strong. Like he's a really interesting, explosive playmaker. Then you have Dilon Jones, who I've continued to say it like, I think he's your everyday future workhorse. Yeah, between the tackles, can catch the ball, can pass block, well built, really good vision, understands angles, makes moves without wasting motion, gets north and south really quickly. They're 2 potential studs. And then you look at this running back room. This is what Chez Mellusi had to say in terms of the depth. Starting running back Chez Mellusi, he said, quote, "We have a lot of bodies. I have never been in a running back room where we've got 9 guys in the room. Going to the fall camp, I'm excited to lead this group of guys. I wouldn't say there's a lot of touches to go around, but fall camp is long. A lot of people are going to get to show what they can do." That last quote, so there's 2 parts of this quote I want to pull out from Chez Mellusi. The first one, I'm going to start with the last one. A lot of people are going to get to show what they can do. That's a great quote because it foreshadows one of the freshmen taking a step up. A lot of people are going to get to show what they can do. Yeah, who is he talking about to show what they can do? Because everyone else has already kind of showed it. He's kind of, in my opinion, kind of clearly talking about Jones and Dupree. They're going to be able to show people what they can do, and they're going to get an opportunity to play because this staff is more of a meritocracy than a veterantocracy. Like, it's more about what you can do than how long you've been here. I think this staff has brought some of that with them. And running back's one of those spots where if you come in physically ready, you can play early, right? We saw with Jonathan Taylor. We saw, obviously, Ron Tain is a great example. But running backs can play early. Cornerbacks can play early. Receivers can play early. There's a couple spots. Like, if you're physically at the right spot, you can play. Running back's one of those spots, and I think this is an area where that number 3 running back position, that number 3 running back role, and even that number 4 guy who's going to get carries in mop-up duty, who's going to get a few situational snaps, those are open. It's Chez at number 1, it's Tyree Walker at number 2, and they're kind of 1A and 1B in my opinion, and then you have a fight. I think one of these true freshmen is going to make noise in that fight, and you can already hear some of the whispers of it. So I'm really excited about that one. The next one I wanted to hit on, really strong buzz on Jack Nelson and Riley Bowman. One of the themes we've talked about this offseason is the bookend tackles for the Badgers. Probably not getting quite as much hype as they should, right? Probably getting a little slept on, which is partially because that offense last year wasn't very good and partially because of early season struggles for Jack Nelson. Well, it sounds like the offseason has been really kind of both of them. Well, yeah, I think we're getting maybe the version of Jack Nelson we thought we'd get 2 years ago. And Riley Mallman is one of the more underrated Badger offensive linemen we've seen in years. So it sounds like that hype for both of those guys is continuing. Be excited for that with the bookends. Xavier Lucas, again, we're just continuing to hit on these themes from Media Day. Xavier Lucas brought up a couple times. This is a quote from John McNamara, who was talking to Ricardo Hallman about Xavier Lucas. I don't know. This is a quote from Hallman. Quote, I don't know how they let him get out of Florida. What have I been saying? Listen, I get plenty wrong, right? And I own those when I get them wrong. But I have been on the Xavier Lucas hype train. I think I built the train. I think I put coal in the engine, and I think I laid the railroad tracks. Because I've been on this train since literally before he committed, before he ran the blistering 4.35 time, before he came onto campus, and he's 6'2", 198 now. I'm telling you, this guy's got future star written all over him. And listen, that's not going to be this year. And listen, this is also Media Day. Everybody's excited. Everybody's optimistic. Every fan base is looking at the freshmen they're most excited about and projecting future stars. And everybody's in the best position of our best shape of their lives. And every question from last year has been answered. Like, this is Media Day and optimism season around the country for every program. But I'm telling y'all, there's just not many 6'2", 200-pound guys from elite competition that can run like him, that are wired like him, that were doing football drills in combat boots in the beach growing up, and whose father played cornerback at the college level, who has all the right intangibles. This dude's a star. I think he's going to be a star. I think he's going to play this year. And who would know cornerback better than Ricardo Hallman, who, again, literally said, I don't know how they let that guy get out of Florida. Speaking about the Miami, Florida program, or Miami Hurricanes, Florida State, Gators, how'd they let him get out of Florida? I'll say this. Let's pin that. They didn't let him. Wisconsin took him because Miami won. I don't know as much about Florida State. I know Florida State had an offer on him as well, but Miami went hard on Lucas, and we just beat him in a recruiting battle. I can tell you right now, the end of the Xavier Lucas recruitment was close. They had Jason Taylor, former defensive end for the Dolphins, kind of come and help try to seal the deal to keep Xavier Lucas in Florida, to keep him in Coral Gables. And our recruiting department just beat him for a cornerback that they desperately wanted. So, yeah, it is exciting to see the hype there for sure. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. We're going to come back and talk about their roster updates. There are freshmen. We have to talk about the size of this incoming offensive line. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show. And a quick second to say, I'm really excited about our new friends of the show over at Ibotta. Listen, you're going to spend money in the summer, right? You're going to go to the beach. You're going to have to buy flippy floppies. You're going to have to get a cooler and fill that cooler with stuff. Come on now. When you spend money, why not get a little bit of money back? That's what Ibotta is here for. They're going to give you money for stuff that you're already buying. Why not do it? Well, there's no downside here. We're all buying stuff, kids' birthday parties, beach days, whatever it is. I need to reno my office. That's why I'm recording in a basement. I'm going to have to buy stuff. This is where Ibotta comes in. This is a brilliant app. Listen, it's a free app. You earn cash on the things you buy, on the things you shop, hundreds of items, groceries, beauty supplies, home supplies, whatever it is, tons of different places, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, plus more. It's incredible. A lot of apps give you points that never add up. Ibotta is not like that. You're going to earn cold, hard cash over at Ibotta. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta. By using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register, go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app to get started. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $5. Today's ad is also brought to you by what is going to become one of my favorite sponsors of the show, Factor Meals. I eat like a college kid, man. Hot Pockets, Lunchables, quesadillas. I have literally eaten a Lunchable in the last week as a 41-year-old person. That's sad. And also, listen, they're solid. It is what it is. Factor Meals is here for people like me, people like you. If you want to get kickstarted on your health journey, the fuel inside your body is one of the most important things you can do, right? It's not just about exercising. It's not just about sleeping enough. You have to fuel your body with the right stuff. Factor Meals gives you delicious meals, over 35 different meals and 60 add-ons to choose from every week. You'll always have new flavors to explore. They're delicious from breakfast to dessert. They got you covered. Let's kickstart our journey together. I'll do it. You'll do it. We'll be accountability buddies on the Factor Meals plan. Head over to factormeals.com, Locked On College. At factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. Use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first order and 20% off your following month. You're not going to beat that deal. Delicious food, great food, healthy food. Factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. All right, let's jump back into our conversation here. We need to talk about some roster updates. we need to talk about this freshman class, y'all. And I know I've been waxing poetically on Xavier Lucas. So roster updates have popped out there. Lucas is 6'2", 198. Yes, let's go. Right, 6'2", 198 with that 4.35 speed. But a couple other guys I want to hit on. Emilio Agard, who Justin and I have talked a lot about. We both really like Agard. He's coming a little bigger than I thought he would be. Like, I've always kind of thought he's more 5'10", maybe even a little less. He's coming at 5'11", 180. That's a great height and weight for him because he has the technique, he has the awareness, he has the recognition, great hands, understands routes, great short area quickness, and he's 5'11", 180. That's awesome. There's a real future in this program for Emilio Agard, let me tell you. How about this one? This freshman offensive line class that we have talked about so much, right? The 5 kids they brought in the 24 class, Kevin Haywood, Ryan Corey, Cubberly, Jensen, Emerson Mandel. Listen to the size and weight of the freshman offensive line class coming in. Kevin Haywood lists 6'8", 325. I'm sorry, what? I think he came in around 280. He's 6'8", 325 now. That is ridiculous considering how athletic he is. Yeah, there's your future left tackle, ladies and gentlemen. How about Ryan Corey? So Ryan Corey doesn't get talked about enough. Interior guy in last year's class. I really like him. I think he's a future center. I think that's where I would kind of I hope that's where he goes because I think he'd be really good there if it works out. He's 6'4", 295. Again, he's basic. I mean, he's going to put on another 10, 15 pounds over the next couple of years. But that weight plays. How about Emerson Mandel, Justin's favorite guy and a dude I love? 6'5", 310. 6'5", 310. Also a guy whose weight plays. Then you have Colin Cubberly, the other tackle brought in alongside Kevin Haywood, 6'6", 318. Like, this offensive line is ready. Like, this freshman group that we brought in last year, and obviously we've talked a lot about the 2025 freshman group, but that group we brought in last year, that could be a foundational class along the offensive line, headlined by Kevin Haywood, 6'8", 325. Like, that's insane. Here's a couple other freshman height weights that really caught my eye. Anelu Lafayette, edge outside linebacker that we're very high on. I think he would have played this year a lot more if Wisconsin didn't go out and just crush the portal market for linebackers, bringing in Pius and Lowry, Thomas and Tackett and Cheeks. Like, they brought in so many guys. I'm not sure if Lafayette has a big role now, but he's coming in at 237, 6'2", 237, and that's great size for him. You know, he's right in that 240 range. He's got a low center of gravity. I don't think you want him much bigger. You know, I think he's going to continue to lean up and get stronger without adding weight. But at 240, with his kind of 6'2" compact frame, the way he gets low to the ground, there's some real Herbig kind of comps there that you can start to look at. So I think it's a great way to see Anelu Lafayette come in at. Mabry Medtoyer, 6'4", 230. That's a frame that works, right? As more of a dual threat guy, you got to be able to absorb a little bit of punishment. 6'4", 230 for Mabry Medtoyer for QB1 out of that class. That definitely works. Grant Steck, been on the show. Love him. Love his upside as a tight end in this offense. As a do-it-all guy who can block, can catch, can run. 6'6", 255. He's playing this year. I mean, Steck's playing this year. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I just think he's too solid across the board. And if you show up at campus 6'6", but in fall camp 6'6", 255, almost 260, but with really soft hands, the ability to run routes, the ability to get out in space, defenses are going to struggle with Steck. And now, again, he's a freshman. I'm projecting more out when I say that, but it's going to be hard to match up with him with DBs because he's going to be too big, and he runs pretty well. So a couple guys there. In terms of upperclassmen, we talked about this before. We had Brady Collins on this show, but Hunter Wohler is 6'2", 218. That's nuts. Like, the best player on the team last year, the best player on the defense last year, coming in at almost 220 pounds. I can't wait to see what Wooler looks like with that added weight. And then Amari Snowden, a guy we've talked about a lot on the show. He's up to 6'4", 210. Guys, I don't think he's a corner at that size. I just don't. I don't think you're playing corner at 6'4", 210. And that's okay, right? I've said it from the jump. If he's more of a deep safety, a rangy deep safety that has that 6'4" length and that wingspan, kind of like Tanner McAvoy was for us, that's an incredibly valuable piece too. I'm still really excited about Amari Snowden. I just don't think he's a corner at that size. I think he's growing out of that spot. But listen, if he can pull it off, I mean, it'd be amazing. I just think he's probably grown out of that spot. 6'4", 210 is big for a corner. But I can definitely see him as that rangy center field kind of safety type, which his defense also needs. So anyway, very excited. Fall camp is here. Let's continue to talk about a bunch of stuff coming up this week. Very excited for it. When you're done here, go check out any other show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Brewers, Bucks, our Packers. Get all your sports content across the Locked On Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, appreciate you. On Wisconsin, we'll talk later.